Before I go on to looking at some examples of Modbus TCP/IP data streams, I would like that you understand what happens after the Modbus software module in a Modbus TCP/IP device passes its data to the TCP/IP software module. Now you can see in this diagram, which we've been using all along, we have this PLC one, which is a client, and we have the Modbus software module that interacts with the TCP/IP module, which has several layers, by the way, and then there's Ethernet. All right, so let's say this block here represents the Modbus application data unit, or ADU. And this, as we just saw, consists of the transaction identifier, protocol identifier, the length, the unit ID, and there's a function code and data, right? So that's all of this in here. Notice that data makes up just a part of the entire data frame here. Now let's see what happens when this data frame is passed to the TCP/IP software module. This happens. A group of bytes called the TCP header and a group of bytes called the IP header, both of them are added onto the Modbus ADU. And as the Modbus ADU goes through these different layers, and each of the header, each of these pieces of information, the TCP header and IP header, this is known as control information. It's not the actual data, but control information that will help in getting the data to the right client or server. So the TCP header is responsible for a connection-oriented data transfer. IP header is actually concerned with having the IP address of the destination device, right? Because each device has an IP address. This ensures it gets to the correct address. Okay, so that's what's actually added. Now, notice that the data makes up an even smaller portion of the whole frame that's sent. Now, let's see what happens when it goes to Ethernet. Okay, so it gets even messier and bigger. With respect to Ethernet, it adds its own header onto the existing IP header, TCP header, the Modbus ADU. All right. And then it sends this out as electrical signals on to cabling, right, to reach its destination. So you can see that there's a hell of a lot of control information that is actually sent along with the data in the Modbus ADU. And that is what happens when a Modbus ADU is sent from the Modbus software module down into TCP/IP and into Ethernet. A lot of control information is added on to ensure that there's proper connectivity. Okay, good.